Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Lisa Flanders. I'm a physiotherapist in Ottawa, Ontario, and I work within women's health and pelvic floor physiotherapy. For our next couple episodes on It's Not TMI, we're going to be talking about different types of incontinence and just give you some tips and tricks to help you, kind of depending on what kind of incontinence you have. Today specifically, we're going to be talking about stress urinary incontinence. Next episode will be about urge incontinence, and then finally we're going to be talking about functional incontinence. And just remember that people can have multiple types of incontinence. This is what we call mixed incontinence, but we're going to break down each of these three separately and give you some tips and tricks to help you manage your incontinence. Just a quick review of the pelvic floor and the rest of our deep core and how they work together. So our diaphragm is the top part of our deep core muscle, primary breathing muscle that sits below the rib cage. We have a muscle that comes across the front of the abdomen. It's called Transversus Abdominis, and it basically supports our abdomen from the front. We have the pelvic floor at the bottom, and then in the back, we have a muscle that comes from the sacrum to each of the individual vertebrae called Multifidus, which supports our spine. Stress urinary incontinence typically occurs when somebody coughs, sneezes, laughs, or when they're doing impact activities like running or jumping on the trampoline with your kids. So if we imagine this ball as our deep core, so our diaphragm at the top, pelvic floor at the bottom, transversus abdominis in the front, and then multifidus in the back. Stress urinary incontinence typically happens when there is a pressure from above, pushing downwards on the pelvic floor, and then the pelvic floor cannot accommodate that pressure. The pressure overcomes the pelvic floor, and then urine leaks out. Stress urinary incontinence is very common, and there's an estimated 1 in 3 women who are going to experience some form of stress urinary incontinence in their life. Typically, this is going to occur when the pelvic floor is either hypertonic, so that's a pelvic floor that's a little bit too tight and therefore can't generate enough force to help manage that pressure, or a hypotonic pelvic floor. So that is a pelvic floor that's very weak and again cannot generate enough force to overcome the pressure being exerted from above. So what are some steps that you can take to start addressing and managing stress urinary incontinence? The first thing you're going to want to do is start to create a connection with your pelvic floor. So I'm going to highly encourage everybody out there that has a vulva to use a mirror, take it and look at your vulva. I have a couple of videos about how to do this, and I'll link them in our description below. The second thing that we're going to want to do is start to connect our breath and our pelvic floor function. And my colleague Andrea Plitz did an amazing breathwork series starting at the very basics of how to breathe all the way up to connecting with your pelvic floor through Kegels and different muscle activations. And I'm going to link that series below as well. Before activities like running or jumping, you're going to want to ensure that you're opening your thorax. And again, we have some great ideas within our breathwork series, but that can be something as simple as doing some thoracic rotations with your breathing and then side bending back and forth. Because if our thorax can expand, that's just going to kind of squish and create more pressure downwards that your pelvic floor is going to have to overcome. Next, looking at impact type activities. So running and jumping, you're going to want to find your baseline. So we want to find that place where your body can tolerate that activity without having a leak. For running, that may look something like doing a 4-minute walk and a 1-minute run and repeating that 5 times. And as you find that your body can handle that amount of stress, slightly increasing either your running capacity, decreasing your walking capacity, or just repeating the whole series multiple times. For something like jumping jacks, that might be breaking down the jumping jack into a component part. So legs only jumping jacks, arms only jumping jacks, and then putting the two together. I did also a video about how to add jumping jacks into your life, and I will make sure that I link that in the description below. With incontinence related to things like coughing or sneezing, once you've created that connection with your pelvic floor, you're going to start putting that together into work with things like coughing and sneezing. So when you feel that sneeze coming on, you're going to think about just gently creating a connection with your pelvic floor before you cough or sneeze. If your stress urinary incontinence persists, then I highly recommend that you're going to do a follow-up with your primary healthcare provider or your local pelvic floor physiotherapist for more information and to create a program that's going to be meant specifically for you and what your specific concerns are. I really hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any questions that you think are TMI, you can feel free to link them in the comments below, and I'll hopefully address them in a coming video. Have a wonderful day.